Well, would you look at that? We made it to episode 5. Today's episode of Misconnections is brought to you by Create Tulsa and the Tulsa Performing Arts Center. And I'm your host, Chas Thunderwolf Stevens. Today is our photography episode, and I'm so excited to introduce our guests, Megan Torres and Liz Villanueva. We're going to have a great episode with these two amazing photographers and getting to the range of what makes a picture, what are the things they like to photograph, and what's the difference between a photographer and a guy with a smartphone. So join us today in our 5th episode of Misconnections.
There's a lot to see, Tulsa, Tulsa, full of beauty. Let's stick together, no more misconnections.
Hi, my name is Chas Thunderwolf Stevens. This is Misconnections, sponsored by the Tulsa Performing Arts Center and Create Tulsa. Today is our photography episode, and we have some amazing guests. First is Megan Torres and Lisbeth Villanueva. All right, welcome for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, being on the show. Sorry, I missed how I said that, but yeah, love photography. This year, one of my Christmas presents given to me was a Camp Snap. It's the little like digital cameras that take disposable. Love that thing. I've had it for 2 months now, and I've already used up all the data on it. Like that is my favorite. So I had to have a photography episode. So I got some questions for you all. Some of them are going to be some hot questions, some hot takes. Hopefully, we get some good ones. So the first question I want to know, and this is more of just like you being fans of photography, is what's a picture in history that you wish you had credit for?
That's a good question.
Dang.
Yeah.
Put us on the spot.
Oh, they're all going to be like this.
A picture in history that I wish.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to begin to answer that.
I think for
it's
me,
hard.
it'd be like whoever took like the moon landing picture. That would be one. Then maybe like any presidential pictures would be cool to take. So those would be mine. I'm a history buff, so yeah, historical pictures like that would be for me.
I would want to say for me, I like nature. So anything that's like on the National Geographic book, I wish I would have been there to witness that in person and take a picture of that. Those are beautiful.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I just saw on 60 Minutes they have like a compilation of all their natural or nature photographers, and the guy who shot like I think it's called the most famous wildlife pictures like this. It's like a salmon jumping into like a bear's mouth. Yeah, that guy.
I seen that.
He has like 5 like covers on National Geographic, but the crazy thing is like he only does like raw photos. Yeah,
really?
Like the craziest thing, he doesn't believe in like any type of photo editing or anything, but he said he like was shooting for, I think he was like taking pictures of like cougars because like they're really reclusive animals, and said it took him 3 days to get a picture of like a mother like mountain lion coming out of her
den. That's easy time too with a lot of those things. You know, you have such a short deadline to get those kind of things done, and some people spend their entire career trying to capture those kind of things. You know,
I feel like you also have to like learn exactly when and where, because you know it's very rare to catch a picture, especially like that, because it's all about like being in the moment and being present. I feel like for me, I've seen so many things where I'm just like, man, I wish I had my camera to capture like a cool picture because I've seen an eagle or an owl, and it's like you're in Tulsa, I'm just like, oh, I wish I had my camera, or like I'm driving, so to kind of see like people that actually capture those pictures, and to me it's like I love that, I get to be inspired by it as well, because it's nice.
I really love that answer, because I think that for her answer is the reason why I wouldn't be able to choose a picture that I would have wanted to take in history.
I get that, yeah.
So I can resonate with that.
Yeah.
Well, not to toot my own horn, I have taken some pictures of eagles. Yeah, for some reason there are bald eagles near my house. Like
we have reserves on the river.
Yeah.
Protected areas.
I live in Turley, so I don't have I think there's a creek not too far in Skytooth Lake, but there's no like big body of water by my house.
Think of how you have
there's Lake
not Berry
Jehovah.
Hill. Berry Hill's close. They have a lake.
Yeah.
There's a couple other little lakes
That's
that are
true.
like
That's
right
true.
out there.
Yeah, I guess I
Those
was shocked.
suburbs have huge ponds
Oh,
that they
yes.
stock with fish.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, okay. So never mind.
There are
my evil
protected
picture-
areas along the river,
Uh-huh.
but I think that there's, because of the pushback and because of the development on the river, that they've just migrated out of that area.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I was gonna say I
Yeah.
used to see them a lot on the river, like in the summer. I've seen a golden eagle out there. Yeah, I love
Have
birds.
tons of
By the way,
eagles,
I take a
yeah.
lot of bird pictures. Like if I was to be a real photographer, yeah,
That would be
avian
your
photography.
niche.
would
There's a
be-
market for
Ooh.
that.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question I have is like, as far as photographers, and this is kind of a question about artists in general, is people think your art is so easy to do, something like that, and I've always wondered like, when it comes to being photographers and both of you all take clients, what are some misconceptions about like maybe the price that you charge, where people are like, "Ooh, you charge that much just to take a picture"? Is that kind of like a common thing? Yeah. Okay.
I feel like for me, like what people don't really understand, it's like it's not only just about taking the picture, but it's creating something that like only you can see, and you want to bring that to life. Like I've gotten many situations where they're like, "Oh, you're charging way too much for that," but it's like not only just the picture, it's my time, it's the love that I put into it, creating some art. Also like location as well. Like if they're wanting a specific like location for like studios nowadays, if you don't have your own studio, it's an hour, it's like $150, or it's very expensive. And on top of that, you have all of the like the photo editing, the Lightroom, that's like a monthly thing that you have to pay. So you don't take into consideration like all the little things that go into creating something like a picture. So I do get a lot of people that are like, that's a little bit too high, or that's not around my budget. And don't get me wrong, I always try to suggest different things, because I understand like the economy is crazy, it's so expensive. So I'll try to suggest different areas, like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do like an at-home studio. I have my setup thing, I can kind of set up. But I think it's just the misconception that people really don't see like every single thing that goes into creating something like that.
Right. Wow. Same to you?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I've been in the industry for over a decade, and that doesn't change. There will always be that kind of base of people that do that, right? And then I'm lucky to have been in this for so long, to the extent where I get to pick and choose my clients. And when you know that you've hit a certain level, like you said, people say that your prices are too high. Okay, well, on the latter end of that, when you're in between that middle stage in photography, your prices are going to be too low for some people, because you have these people who really highly value art, right? And then you value individuality. And then apart from that, then you value the person of the creator's eye and work, which is what you're paying for. Like she says, you're expending education, and you're spending time and love and resources. And, anybody, like you say, anybody can pick up a camera, anybody can do this, anybody can have the eye and see the sea. But at the end of the day, that doesn't always cut the cheese. You do a job, right? You have a job, and employ Chaz, everybody. So but you get paid for your job,
right?
Okay, so why is the struggle in artistry the fact that we cannot get paid for our job? And that job is not just me showing up on that one specific day. That job is all of the hours that we put into that specific day, plus all the hours that it took me to get you to maybe be that client, because some people have to beg their clients to be their clients. That's crazy. But it is. It's the market that people are in. It's what people who are new into the business don't understand, that you don't have to do that. A good business foundation, a solid structure, really not just understanding art, but business creativity and how to utilize that to maximize your return on income is, I think, really something that's missed. But you go to a job and you get paid for it, and then people turn around and like, oh, you did job, you're doing job, and we won't pay you.
And that leads me to a good segue to the next question. It's kind of like, what is the goal of a photographer, right? Like, is it to highlight what is in the picture? Like, as far as like, for example, if you all were to take a picture of me, are you going to highlight how cool I am? Or do you focus more on like, let me craft this photo in a way someone knows I took this photo? And is it like kind of a hard thing to balance out, like the model in the picture and the picture itself?
I feel like for me, I really do take an aspect of basically the people that I'm kind of working with. looking at their personality, because I have worked with a couple people who are like never gotten a photo shoot before, and they're so shy. They're like, well, I don't know how to, like, what to wear or how to dress, or how to pose. And so for me, getting those people to get really comfortable in their own skin and making it a fun experience, not just like something where it's like, okay, now stay still, I'm gonna take a picture.
Right.
It's more of like, be yourself, let yourself free, because for me, I want to capture who you are within. And the authenticity that there is here. And like, I feel like there's so many people who are so authentic, and they're one of a kind, like the things that you do is different than what I would do, and vice versa, so I really try to capture like the authenticity of the people, and really bring in like that comfortable of like where they feel confident in themselves. So for me, capturing, there's like a creativity where like I try to bring something out that maybe you don't see, but I want you to be able to see what I see in my eyes,
Oh, I love that.
And so for me, it's very important, kind of like whenever I'm working with people, kind of making sure they're feeling comfortable and understanding like, okay, how can I make you feel good about this? What do I want to, like, what is my goal here? Sometimes it's maybe building up your confidence. Sometimes it's, I do branding shoots, maybe building something where it shows and represents your culture, the business, and the love that you put in every aspect.
Wow.
So that's, for me, it's a little bit of that, kind of trying to bring in and bring out, like, I guess, who you are.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's, she said it. No, and my brand's the same way. We are Torres Fine Art, and so we do just that. It's she says it naturally. I think that's the intellectual property that you're paying for. Going back to that other question that we just had, that is that you want that really good communication. You come into a studio and you may not know the person. What happens if you got a job tomorrow and they said, here's your contact, and you only have certain information about it, maybe age, gender, what their preferences are, and pronouns. Okay, so how are you going to turn that into a conversation? You have to be able to, disable and disarm somebody, and so that way you can have that vulnerability of feeling and evoke that emotion.
Yes.
And with that kind of connection and gradual ability throughout that, then most people can't capture those kind of good portraits that evoke emotion and speak just by looking at them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love these answers. Like, no. I think it's just because, like, as a person who does comedy, does music, like, I words are my art form. So for photographers, who's usually behind a camera and it's not like a speaking thing, I really love just kind of like how you all describe it, because to me it's just like I think that's just the normal way of how people see photographers, is the person, and the only thing they have to say is say cheese, and that's it, right? So to hear it kind of in this detail makes me just appreciate your art so much more.
Yeah, you look at all of these, what if you go to galleries and things like that, and you have to have some kind of textual property against your imagery. You can never just say, I love these pictures and this is what I want to do. Fortunately for me, I've had some of those opportunities where I'm like, I really love this and this has to be out into the world.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time you don't get those opportunities, and then unless you know somebody or something like that, regardless, if you want to get to the achievement levels, you have to fix your verbalization on whatever you're trying to achieve in business.
And that's a good question, because one of the purpose of this podcast is to break down like gatekeeping, right? Because we just feel like it's not always accessible for people to get places and go places. Do you ever feel as if, like, within your careers there have been moments that were blocked to you that you just felt like were so simple that you're like, why would somebody keep me from doing this? Yeah, like in comedy, I'm always amazed, like sometimes like comedians won't tell you like certain people to contact about certain shows. You're just like, why wouldn't you share that, So does that happen in photography as well, as like access to galleries or even clients or stuff like that?
I feel like for me, because I haven't been in the industry for long, I've been doing this because it started off as a hobby, and it started off with sunsets. I'm such a sunset fanatic when it comes to like just pretty skies and colors, and just how it complements each other.
Yeah.
And so when I started doing it, it's all about learning. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than when I actually dove into it, or I was like, wow, it's actually a lot more, because you have to learn the technical side. You have to learn a little bit about what you kind of like as well, like where your art is at, and what you kind of do, because there's so many things and so many aspects in photography. Like, you have like your portraits, and you have your creative photography, and for me, it was a lot. I did go through a lot of like gatekeeping because I would reach out to like photographers. Hey, I love your work. I admire it. I would love to learn from you. And most of them, well, which I understand, it's a competitive industry,
Yeah.
you don't want to give out your secrets too much because, you want to make sure that you're also keeping your clients and they're not taking it away. But
Right.
at the same time, like for me, it was very hard because like not everybody wanted to help. And not everybody would give you the full answer. They'll probably give you like little keywords here and there.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I did get to come across somebody who, when I first started my, my photography journey, I came across their page and I just absolutely loved them. And they were one of the only people that actually helped me, especially kind of develop myself. And one of the things was like, he didn't teach me like the technical side. He was just like, it's all about what you see. It's what you love. And it's what you like kind of want to create.
Feel free to do shout outs, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Shout out. Well, he doesn't do photography anymore, but his name was Alvaro Luna. I think back then his page was Luna.
Okay.
And he did amazing photography, like kind of like more artistic photography, motion photography.
Okay.
He messed a lot with like colors, and to me, like the complementation of like it all, it kind of really inspired me. So he's been, honestly, for me, has been like a really great teacher to kind of learn from and kind of build up that confidence. Because, whenever you're kind of learning, it's a lot of like being confident in yourself. I remember the first post I ever posted, I posted it and I threw my phone. I kid you not. I threw my phone. I was like, I don't want to look at it. People are going to, what if they hate it?
Yeah.
What if they don't like it? What if they don't see what I see, So having to really be confident within myself and still like learn, as much as I go. And for me, like if I ever come across another photographer that asks me questions, like we had somebody like today, one of you guys has asked me like the f-stop. I'm more than happy to teach that because I never got that opportunity.
Wow. Yeah.
And I feel like it's more like what I kind of want to create, especially with my photography, is more of a unity. I want to kind of have like a whole team and unite each other and help each other. And like, hey, like maybe the vision that you want is not what I can make, but I know somebody that can help you get that,
Wow.
So I, coming across people that I have like actually reached out and asked for help or asked for advice and being kind of shut down, it happens a lot, especially when you're kind of starting off.
Did you hit the same thing since you've been in the industry for 10 years? Was that a big thing for when you first started as well?
I think you encounter both sides of that, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people in the industry who are really good, humble human beings, and they preach against, the gatekeeping and you have your mentors and you have people that, you can be approachable with and some people you can be, but to a certain extent, right? I've taught in the industry, and so it's also at the same time you get like a fandom almost, right? So when you have these people that are like coming out of the woodwork and they just want information, and sometimes it's in good faith and sometimes it's just, a waste of time, for lack of a better phrase. Then it kind of comes down to that, is this person actually dedicated? Does this person have a creative eye? You have to look at a multitude of facets into that. Is this going to be worth my time? Is this person going to be somebody who's going to really want to be involved in the actual industry for a long time, So there's so many facets of just the industry and the working industry of professionals in photography that people just haven't even the slightest idea behind,
Right.
And so you get into image competitions and just everything. And so there is a lot of gatekeeping in general in just the industry, you know? And I think that, did I encounter it so much growing up? Probably not. But I also grew up, shooting film, and I always knew that this is something that I've been very passionate about. And so it was not going to be an option to not be dedicated to the craft in that capacity. And so maybe that's why I also love to teach, and I love to teach in multitude of facets, whether you're just beginning or if you're just a mom with a camera, because, I think people do hesitate because they're like, oh, I don't steal my competition. We're in a small, like a growing metropolitan.
Right.
How many people are in Tulsa? I do not know the number to that.
Yeah.
And quite frankly,
We're like at 1 million, I think, for our entire, including suburbs and stuff, like a metro area for sure. Yeah.
do you have 1 million clients?
Absolutely
I
not.
don't have 1 million clients. I can tell you, I do not want 1 million clients.
No.
Right, yeah,
There is no way
absolutely
that I could service 1 million clients. I want a handful of clients who are good, decent human beings, respectable people, and that, we can foster good connections.
Yeah.
So is there gatekeeping in the community? I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if if you are genuinely humble about the way you approach people and they can see that in you and they can see your creativity, then I say that gets kicked out of the water 9 times out of 10 in the industry.
And I was going to say, like, purpose of this podcast, again, is like we call it Misconnections because it's people who don't, like, know each other, but are in the same, like, both of you, right? Both of you are photographers, live in Tulsa, have been doing it for a few years, a decade, a few years. And here we are, this is the first time you've all met. So it is like one of those things that's super interesting. Like I think it's enough space for everyone to be able to like find their lane and do something. Right.
Smallsa will always be Smallsa. Okay,
Yes.
everybody who's been here knows that.
Yeah.
If you're in the surrounding areas and you know anybody in town, chances are you or I probably know them.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
of
You
course,
know, the artistic community in
small
town.
world.
It is.
Well-
Everybody has connections everywhere in town.
This brings me next to see like how much more connected are we? Who are some of your favorite Tulsan photographers? And you know, you don't have
Curtis
to do
Bragg.
a rank.
What's up, buddy?
Who was it?
Curtis.
Curtis. Okay.
Mhm. He's
Yeah.
a really great photographer. He has been a good friend of mine, and I love them. Him and Lisa, his wife, they're amazing people.
Yeah.
They're really doing a lot of boudoir stuff right now. So
Okay.
yeah, they're
Nice.
just really great people.
Yeah. You have any favorites?
I would say I admire everybody, a little bit of everybody.
Ooh, good answer.
I don't think
Safe answer.
yeah, I know. I don't think I really have like a favorite. I like everybody. Everybody has like their own kind of niche and their
Right.
own kind of style, and so I love to kind of see a little bit of what everybody has because I can always learn from a little bit of everything. Kind of take that all in and make it my own as well.
Right. Okay. So this, like I said, we want to kind of have some fun questions, but this has been such a like kind of fun episode. It's a little different than the rest, but I do want to ask you this. Like I said, we're gonna have some hot take questions, and I just want to know: is Boston Avenue overused?
Boston Avenue.
Like the red doors, the BOK Center in the background where we shut down the streets so someone can take their like.
I personally have
pictures.
areas in town that I will not photograph at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might
And this is
be
an
an
answer- this-
area.
Okay.
The flower garden, which is not that's not what it's called, everybody. It's
Yeah.
the flower park. It's not
Yeah.
called the flower park. It's part of Philbrook.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so the rose park, whatever everyone wants to call it. Woodward. It's Woodward, guys.
Woodward,
Yes.
right.
It's Woodward Park.
Please know your locations.
Yeah.
Also, if you ask a photographer, regardless if they're new or old, please pay them because they also have to pay for a permit
Yes.
to
Yes.
shoot there.
Yeah.
Tulsa parks you have to pay. Botanical Garden you have to pay.
Yep.
And support these people because they're all local. They are community. They give back to the community.
Yes.
Right.
You know? So
Yeah. No, that's a great because I
yes,
did a.
there are places that I won't shoot. I
Yeah.
don't know if Boston is ever used in a sense, maybe of senior pictures more than anything.
Yes,
Right.
I've seen a lot of senior pictures with like the Boston or even like that place like right next to like where McNally's is, where they have
Oh,
like
with
that
the
little chain.
Yeah, that's
so
a-
many pictures.
wow.
Yeah. With
That's
that being said, though, in the industry, if you know a set of steps are going to get you that whatever your minimum is, your 35, your 10, whatever $1,000 you need, then you're going to damn straight
Yeah,
to
go use it. Yeah, no, for sure.
to the staircase.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not above, using a certain set of stairs
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
But then you make it look like your own. And, it comes back to
Yeah.
that intellectual property and your creative
Right.
eye and who you are as an artist. And are you making that spot glow or in
Yes.
all of your work? And is that your representation of yourself in your work?
Mm.
Or is your work to prove that you are a skilled individual who is proficient in your craft and able to evoke emotion out of not the staircase?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And that brings me, like, because I'm always curious, like, for me, my favorite places to, like, take pictures of, honestly, are dive bars and anywhere where my friends are. Those are my favorite places because I like taking pictures of my friends, look back, here's memories of this. And the reason why I love dive bar pictures is because so many people go through a bar from all around the world. Like, even Sound Pony in Tulsa has probably had someone from the UK and
Yep.
Australian. And, the little graffiti in bathrooms is one of my favorite things to look at. So
Yes.
The
that's
colony,
like,
yeah.
the colony, right? Like, there's so many cool places to, like, take pictures. Like, whenever I go out of town, I love going to dive bars because you just know it's like a place everyone can go to, everyone's been in. And it's just kind of like it's kind of like a stamp of humanity
Yes.
on a place. So those are my favorite places to take pictures. So, heck yeah. All right, so I want to know, do photographers hang out? Like, comedians hang out, musicians hang out, but I always feel like like photographers are kind of a lone wolf art form, unless you have like a group and you all work as a team, you know. But for the most part, most photographers are kind of, you know, solo dolos kind of people. So do y'all hang out with other photographers? Are there photographer collectives in Tulsa?
There are definitely photographer
Yes.
collectives in Tulsa.
Okay.
We have several professional organizations in Tulsa
Oh,
and
nice.
surrounding areas, you know. Professional Photographers of Oklahoma does a lot of things in town.
Wow.
You got Metro PPA, which is mainly based out of Oklahoma City, and then you have Indian Nations, which we run out of Tulsa.
Okay.
So there are definitely professional organizations that do things every month. You know, there's monthly meetings, and you can come into those regardless of if you're a member or not. And then there's seminars and things like that. So yes, they do hang out, but in a different fashion and regard, right?
Yes.
It's always mostly in a continuing education stance.
Uh-huh.
And then we get real wild.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Photographers know how to party and how
Yes,
to
they
after
do.
party.
You guys have the film. Film is just going all over the
Oh my
place. I
gosh.
love it.
It's funny that you say that because I actually, when I first started, I went into the Indian. They had a photography thing, and I went, and for the first time, I met with all these photographers, and it was more of a learning aspect because they brought people from like different parts of the world. There was a guy that I got to meet. He was from Africa. He just moved here. He had his marketing company over there in Africa. He showed us the cool pictures of like the animals and how it was over there, the people, and to me, you know, it was interesting to kind of be able to hang out with people that I can relate to, you know, because, you know, with my friends, you can hang out with friends, but if they don't really have the same passion as you, it's kind of hard to kind of like understand each other because they're like, yeah, you take pictures, you know, but it's like, no, girl, like there's a lot more that goes into that, you know, and so being able to actually hang out with people that understand, I guess, like the passion, the concept of everything, it's really nice. But, you know, then you also get like your time alone to kind of do your things and be your own person as well.
Yeah.
So it's the best of both worlds.
Nice. You know, as a non-photographer, I didn't know about these organizations. So I think like for our guests, because, you know, I want to use this podcast as a way to like educate people to kind of find those resources and have an easier way to access them. But I am enjoying more of the hot take questions. So I kind of want to go back to those if those
go.
okay. All right. So I want to know like if we're going to do a call like lose it or use it, kind of like like do you feel like they're cool, overrated? How did you feel about that time? So the first one I want to bring up is Instagram filters from the 2010s. Were they good for photography, or are they kind of like, oh, this person's using 5 filters on a picture? Like, how do we feel about filters on social media websites?
You know, that's a little hard because, like, you know, when I think back of how it used to be back in like the early 2000s or even 2010s, I feel like each decade or each kind of like, I guess, year or phase had its own kind of like creative aspect to it, its own kind of like vibe. So like if you think about like the early 2000s, you think about kind of like more of like those not high quality cameras,
Right.
but more of like those back in the days, like those cameras, disposable cameras, like you take a
Disposables.
picture, you'll
Right.
print it off and everything like that. For me, I think there was a phase when I was young, probably, you know, I would use probably 5 filters, 6 filters, you know, when it comes
We
to
were
a
all
picture.
guilty. Yeah.
But as you kind of grow into it and you kind of learn like the color grading and everything like that, like now I kind of learn a little bit more to kind of like not be, you maybe use saturation too much, you know,
Ooh,
or kind of bring
okay.
it down and have more of a like a subtle real effect where it doesn't look as edited as, you know, maybe like having like a picture that you see the saturation of the vibration of it. It's just like out of proportion and just kind of, I guess, like the complementing of the colors and everything.
Okay. Yeah. All right. The next one. All right. And it's actually funny you bring it up because that was actually be the next question. The return of the disposable camera. How are we feeling about it? Is it we like it, we don't like it, we're fans, we're not fans?
I love it. As a person who used to shoot film and develop in the bathtub and things like that, like, oh yeah, I think it's fun. I think that it's maybe even good for a form of appreciation in that, you know, maybe these people that are just now starting to get an understanding of film and the photography behind it, could probably have an intention of understanding more what an artist does to create that, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also want to know, as a photographer, how do we feel about selfies? Like, I never see photographers do photography selfies. So, wonder is that just anti-selfie or just
Well,
you just
like,
don't want
you
to
mean
hold a
just
camera?
a photographer doing a selfie?
Yeah, I mean,
Because
like,
I've
you know,
definitely done that.
like
Like
hold the camera. Like I've never seen someone with like
90% of my portraits of me are self-portraits. I mean,
okay, like you're holding the camera like selfie style, or like you take a picture of yourself.
no, yeah, like I'm taking
wow.
I'm sitting it up, and then I'm going like this, and running to my spot, and saying
Yes.
hello.
I think
Oh,
I
I
was
love
bored
that.
at home and I did that. I was laying in bed. I was kind of just scrolling and I was like, you know what? Let me just take a picture of myself. I look good.
Heck
Went
yes.
behind the camera. I got like my little tripod, put my camera up, put a timer, and then I got like this little kind of like vinyl type of paper. It was kind of see-through and it was pink. Put water on it and created something kind of like more retro vibe.
Wow.
And honestly, it was really fun to kind of do. I broke a sweat. I'm not gonna lie. Going back and then coming back and sitting down.
It
'cause,
gets hot.
it
And the
gets-
lights and everything. People don't, there's a photographer, Brooke Shaden. She's very, very popular throughout the world. She has amazing, amazing, amazing work. And all of her stuff is self-portraits.
Wow.
And you wouldn't know just from looking at her work if you didn't like know what she did and her style of work. But it's all very just raw emotion and good work, and it's all self-portrait. I think that there can be a lot of selfies done in that
Yes.
regard, you know. One of my pictures in here of me is a self-portrait, but you can't even see because it's all silhouetted,
Oh,
right? And
okay.
so how many pictures are we taking that we don't know are self-portraits, I think would be a better question.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
that is true.
I also like to take selfies a lot myself.
do.
Yeah, I'm a big
He said,
selfie guy.
hello.
It's me again.
I have a Samsung Note Ultra, and it has the stylus, so you can
love the
prop the
stylus.
phone and take pictures with the stylus, which has made me a
that's
villain
nice.
and debates against iPhone people because iPhone people are like, oh, you just have to put the timer. I'm like, timer. Watch this, and I'm like, I feel like Harry Potter. I'm like, when Gladio Leviosa, I'm like, snap it with my little wand, like,
Heck yes.
and then you can like swipe the screen and make it go to video. So like sometimes my favorite thing is to like show iPhone people like
Far more
I'll prop
fancier
my
than I am.
Yeah, I'm like, I literally just put a timer. I'm gonna have to switch.
yeah, like my favorite thing when I like have a debate with iPhone people about my Samsung is that, like I said, you have the little wand. So I'll set my phone up and they think that I'm gonna do the whole timer thing. And then I swipe it to video and I'll start a video. And they're like, okay, are we gonna take a picture? I'm like, we've been recording for 30 seconds. And they're like, what? And they're like, ah. Or the other thing I like to do is to take the wand out, hand my phone to people for them to take pictures, and then I snap the pictures.
Yeah.
Or I swap it to video.
That is horrible.
Yeah.
You get the
I'll
off
never
guards.
take your phone from
Yeah,
you.
don't.
When we're out.
I'm gonna tell you now.
Like, no.
I would be a villain as a photographer. I know one thing I like to do.
Or
with
you'd be a
people-
really good event photographer.
There you go.
Oh, I think
yeah.
I'd be okay with that. Okay, so the reason I got into like wanting to take pictures, and this is kind of a little bit lore. It's not, of course, it's a podcast. So sorry to take up time. I normally don't talk this much in these episodes.
We love your voice.
I have a friend who was a DJ, and he did a show in Springfield, and they had like 3 DJs doing like the set at the same. It was really fun, but they had it in this old Masonic hall in like Springfield, Missouri. So I was just there, and I was like, I'm gonna tell people I'm a photographer, and I'm practicing phone photography. So I'm going around taking pictures of like I have so many random people from Missouri in my like phone storage. And I forgot to get their social media handles. Like, but I was like practicing all these different ideas for photography, like, you know, like depth, like in a picture, like trying to do like motion pictures. Like I love taking pictures. So yeah, like which then brings me to like the next question of kind of like, do you all feel like social media has kind of created like this new generation of photographers because they've, you know, they post so much? They want to get that cool picture for a cool post or anything like that? Or is that even how you all might have started?
I think I love this, okay, because so going back to the filters and things, Instagram was created for that,
Right.
for that specific reason, right? So the utilization of that platform to do those specific things, I think, are really good. Is there an oversaturation of it? Yeah, probably. But if you look at some of the way these branding and marketing teams are, there's a small revolt in the industry right now about how the way these people are contracting, because a couple of days ago, I don't know how much of this I can say. A couple of days ago,
Spill it all.
Nike released a ad that essentially was asking artists or photographers to come up and give them like creative content idea, right? And so there's no NDAs, there's no nothing associated or attached to this, right?
Yeah.
So professionals in the industry are calling it a grab at, you know, both content ideation and the lean, you know, all of those things that fall into that, because you're putting out this artist call and you're expecting these like really good ideas. These people have not said one word about paying you for any of these things.
I want to say Adobe did something similar like that once.
I do stuff with Adobe, so I'm not to say that they didn't do that, but I can also say that, you know, on the back end of things, sometimes you can get paid. You have opportunities to do paid stuff, but you also have really good opportunities to get yourself out there, you know, as teaching merits and stuff like that. So, but what was your question? I forgot what the question was.
It's
I was
okay.
gonna
Questions
answer that.
don't matter here anymore. Yeah, we're just having fun.
Something to that effect, and then I was gonna say something about how something else pertained. Tell me the question again.
It was like social media making it too easy.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if it's made it easy. I've been off social media for a long time.
Okay.
So I do have a running Instagram. People are like, I see your Instagram, I follow you. Yes, thank you. I thank you very much for that. You can also purchase anything you see on my Instagram.
And go ahead and say your Instagram for the podcast.
My Instagram is Torres Fine Art. That's where you'll find me.
And Torres with 2 R's in.
Yeah, TORRESFINEART is where you find me.
And while we're plugging, go ahead and plug yours as well.
Yes, it's _love.liz_.
Love that. I love underscores in it. Because my Instagram is from 2013, and you could have underscores. So, like, mine is, I'm not going to plug myself. I'm on this enough. But I have 2 underscores in mine, and I wanted to change my name. But then I learned they stopped putting underscores in names. Like, you're kind of grandfathered in. So I was like, I can't change it now. Like, I want to, but I got to keep my underscores. Like, I want people to know I was here in 2013.
The late 90s, early 2000s, that was like that when the internet really started surging, and AOL and MSN Messenger were becoming a thing, and it was underscore everything.
Yeah, I had a cool AOL. It was Zeus 18.
Zeus 18.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that was like my favorite thing. 18 is still my favorite number, but Zeus not my favorite god anymore.
Who's your favorite god?
Yeah, that's the real
in
question.
Greek mythology?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I have to say, like, I think Apollo is pretty cool. Like, my man, he stole cows once. He plays the lyre. He's the sun guy. Helios is cool. I think the sun gods are probably my favorite. Like, Helios was I'm sure he was problematic in some way. But like his whole thing was he just rode a chariot of horses across the sky. Like, how bad of a guy can he be? Like,
you got to read this webtoon series called Lore Olympus.
Olympus.
Yeah, you can actually get the books now. They have books at Target of her comic book series, and I followed it like from the time she started to the time she ended it, and it's all about Greek mythology and things like that. It is so good.
Yeah.
Her drawing is beautiful, you know.
I love that this podcast is about photography. Like, we're getting close to our deadline mark, and we're almost out of questions, which rarely happens. I'm actually really enjoying this. Like,
I love it.
It's been a good discussion.
And I also want to tell our guests that this episode, you might have noticed I've been snacking. Our guests have also been snacking. We brought grapes to the episode.
We can show them, actually.
Matter of fact, let's
They're
take
cotton candy grapes.
Yeah, they're cotton candy grapes. Yeah, I was going to say, let's pass some more of these bad boys. Yeah.
Let's pass some. I'm going to get some.
Again, this is our 5th episode. We're having the time of our life.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yes,
thank you for having us. You too.
I know. I feel like this was very educational for both ends.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Like, yeah, this has been a very fun episode. Not saying the other episodes weren't fun. But yeah, this one's been very baller.
Thank you.
It's okay. You can say it was your favorite.
I have no favorites. Yep.
Very political of you.
Yep. Well, I do my best. All right. So I want to ask you all the next kind of like we're getting toward, like I said, we're getting kind of close towards the end of our questions. This is kind of another little goofy question, but like, you ever get scared in the dark room?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I've been in one when I was a kid. And ever since then, because we had I went to a small little private school before I went to Union, and we had a photographer come and show us the whole like thing of like developing film, and he turned one of our classrooms into a dark room. And I mean, you walk in, and it was kind of like being in like a nightmare, for me as a kid because it was like dark and it's red.
Yeah.
And he just has like the pictures hanging up, but like they're not fully developed. So you just see pictures of children, but they're like silhouettes. And they're like, like that. So I'm fine now.
He's traumatized.
Yeah, but I was,
Yeah.
as a kid, I was traumatized. So I want to know for you all, like, what's the cool thing about being in a dark room for y'all? As far as do y'all do film?
The smell of developer was always my favorite. And then the swooshing back and forth when you get to that last tin of developer where you're very first starting to see a picture. Like, that's it. If I was to be scared in a dark room, I think it's there was there in my high school, we had a pre-developing room, right? And then you have the actual dark room where we had our dark room sliding door.
Yeah.
And that pre-developing room where you go in and you put your film in your canister and all that. I think that was probably more scarier of a room than the actual developing room. You know, the red lights hit me all day, but when you get in there and your hands are in a bag in a sack that you have no idea and all the lights are out and
Yes.
Oh man.
yeah, and if you one wrong move and that roll is gone.
Yep.
Like
Oof. Oof.
brings up some anxiety, I'd tell you.
Yeah. I remember back then, what movie did I watch? I think it was The Grudge, one of like the OG Grudges. I think there was like a part where like they were like in the dark room and she happened to kind of like, I don't know, I vaguely remember it because I was so scared of it. I was like trying to forget.
You said peeking through the blinders.
Literally, I was like, oh my gosh. But I love scary movies.
Yeah.
And The Grudge was like totally one of my favorite ones. But I remember like they were in there and like it just gave me that every time I would go in there, I would think about, I hope The Grudge is not going to come out and like, you know, get me.
It's gonna get me for sure.
Especially when you're looking
Coming
at
out
the
from under the
pictures
table.
from in the water or something.
Oh. Yeah. No, I've always, like I said, since a kid, I always like,
We should make a movie. That's a good
We
plot.
should.
ooh,
There we
the
go.
dark room.
The dark room.
Ooh,
I'm about
it's a photographer, serial
You can't
killer.
steal this because it's being published after we've made this
Yep.
idea.
Exactly.
By the time they see it, I'll have already worked on our trademarks and patents.
There you go.
Okay, I think we're kind of towards our last question of the evening, and I want to know for you all, if you could stage the most perfect picture for yourself, and it can include people. Like, think of it in the way of like, you know, I know we're not fans of AI, but if you were to have an AI prompt that was a picture you could take physically, what's in that picture?
Me and my son, I have this vision for a picture of me and my son right now that I have this dope frame for. Really trying to use it. It's covers my wall. You know, when people tell you, don't ever let somebody tell you that they don't have space on their wall.
They do.
Everybody has space on your wall. You got space in your bathroom wall. You got space above your little thermometer. You know, there's space in everybody's house. Let me tell you, it's about the utilization of space, right? So my picture would be this picture that I'm working on of me and my son. It's going to be super sexy.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome.
I love it.
And very big.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
it's going to be like a 40 by 60. I mean, just covering my wall. Yeah.
Wow.
Sick.
That's
my answer.
I don't know. For me, I'm trying to think. I feel like if I could, I was really close to my grandma. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us anymore. But if I could, I would love to, because we didn't really take pictures, and the pictures that we did take were pretty goofy, which I still love. I would always cherish them. But if I could, I would love to take like a big family picture with both my grandparents and like my family, and just have it hang it up, because we have family pictures, but it's all like, it's either my mom and my brothers, or like me and my mom, but there's not really one where we're like all kind of together. So I would like to have one where kind of all together, where like, you know, whenever I have kids, I can be like, hey, like this was all of us together at one point, you know.
See, and that's so common, right?
Yeah.
Think about that.
I think
about
that's
the
super
people
true.
that don't have that kind of generational heirloom, and you know, that's really what an artist is there to provide you.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, recollection of that memory.
Yeah.
One of my favorite photographers, it's a guy named Ian Upton. He's like one of my favorite guys. He, last year, I hired him to do some shots for me and my dad, because same like you, my dad is going to be 70 this year, not to just blow his business up. But my dad's, you know, he's getting up there, and it's kind of one of those things where like I'm the youngest. And I think the last time my dad took any kind of professional pictures with my family was like the 70s, right? Like when my sister was like 3. So it's like 1970, or it'd been like 1979 or something like that, right? So it's kind of like, wow. So me and him took some pictures, and I had like some T-shirts made for a comedy show. And I was like, well, what do you want to wear? Because our house, like, as you all can tell, I wear a lot of red. And our house has red backgrounds and everything. And he was like, let's wear those shirts you made last year. I'm like, what? So like he and I are wearing like matching shirts that I made, and it's just like this cool thing, you know? And so, yeah, I think that's one thing for sure that got me into taking pictures. Like I said, I'm not a photographer. Just want to clarify that. I understand you all have a craft, you have an art, I respect it. But as far as like taking pictures, I think the answer both of y'all gave that has the same line is like family. I don't think we take or think about family pictures enough, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for like honestly like an amazing episode. Again, not my favorite. All episodes are equal in my eyes. This one was just different. So yeah, I really want to thank you all so much. Well, again, my name is Chaz Thunderwolf Stevens. This is Misconnections, sponsored by the Tulsa Performing Arts Center and Create Tulsa, filmed here live at the Rax Tulsa. Thank you all, and see you in the next episode.
Bye.